Hi, uh, welcome back to Sera's room. This is the first episode of the third season, I believe. Yeah, it is the first episode of the third season, and I thought we should start off with a conversation we had last time, which was is marriage a patriarchal institution? We had Ore and Fortunate, a married couple, on the show, and this time around we're having David.
Yes.
Yes, actually, to be sincere, I don't know David very well. I wasn't friends with him. David is my younger sister's friend, Emanuela. We'll be having Emanuela more on the podcast. She's a very foolish person, but I think we've encountered her once before. Yes. Uh, can everybody say hello? Introduce yourselves, your name, and what you do.
Okay, well, my name is David Alex, and I'm a 300 level philosophy student of Dominican University, Ibadan.
Hmm. Okay, are you single, taking, married?
I'm very single.
Okay. Uh, Ella.
My name is Emanuela. I am currently community manager for Miss Bundles, the brand. Um, yeah, that's what I do. And I'm also very single. In case you people have arranged marriage, I'm available.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, I wanted to ask. Uh, the last episode, that was the closing out episode of season 2, was or is marriage a patriarchal society, and we had Ore and Fortunate on the show speaking from their own point of view as a married couple on why they believe marriage isn't a patriarchal society. But as we are all singles here, I would like to hear your opinions on what you think about patriarchy as a whole and how it relates to the marriage institution. So should we start from Ella?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
last week we was to go ahead.
Well, marriage. Well, coming from the standpoint of I've never been married and I've not actually experienced it for myself, but I think marriage is just relationship that got more serious. I don't know how to put it, but I don't think marriage is all this big thing. The way people kind of make it feel like marriage, like this special thing, because after the celebration and everybody eats rice, everybody goes home. You guys, okay, maybe for couples that have not been living together, then they start living together, getting to know each other on a more personal level. So, for those that have been living together prior to the marriage, I feel like it wouldn't be anything really all that special because they were already living together. They already know each other. So, it's just relationship that just got seriouser. If I'm going to put it like that, but it's just a relationship that just got more serious, nothing more. Also, well, in Nigeria, the patriarchy is a real thing, and it's a um very big part of the culture here in Nigeria. So, of course, it also plays into um marriage.
Mm.
Do you understand? It also plays into the idea of marriage because if you think about it, Nigeria is a country whose culture is highly patriarchal. It's highly patriarchal, and that also plays into the kinds of ideas that people have on marriage. It also plays into the way they see marriage and the kind of practices they also it also plays into the kind of practices that they engage in marriages. So of course, marriage is a patriarchal society because the whole of Nigeria is a patriarchal society. Everything benefits the patriarchy. So obviously, marriage also plays into that. You get married to a man, they tell you have to be submissive, you have to be faithful, you have to be loyal, loving, you have to just take care of the kids. And it seems all the man is required to do is just be there. If we actually want to talk about it.
Really?
Because yes. Because if you want to talk about it, yeah, right? In the times past, in times of old, even from way, way back, when our mothers get married to their husbands, they are required to join them to work on the farm. Yeah, of course. They are required to go to the markets and sell the produce and bring home the money. So basically, all the man is just required to do is just be there.
Yeah, really. Well, anyways, okay.
Yeah, he's just required to just be there.
David, do you have a differing opinion?
Yeah, but
Whether let me finish. Whether or not he whether or not he is a present father or he's actually doing his best for his family, all he's just required to do is just be there for the marriage to work. But a woman is required to do so many other things. You're required to be a nurse, you're required to be a psychiatrist, you're required to be a teacher, you're required to be like so many different things in one, and still have a little bit of spice so that your marriage will not die. Now, mind you, if we even want to talk about it from times past, these men, you are required as a married woman to be faithful to your husband. You are to stick with your husband. But nobody is requiring that of the man, if we really want to think about it. If we're even moving it down to this modern day and age, then you can say, okay, then they were full-time housewives who like didn't have an identity aside of their marriage. But even nowadays, where you have women that work, women will go to work in the morning, come home at 5 or 6 p.m., and a man will waltz in at 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, and he's expecting this woman that has been to work since morning to also have the kids ready, put to bed. He's expecting her to also, after she has finished with the kids, she should have cooked, there should be food waiting for him, and after all of this, she's still required to fulfill her marital duties. So, literally all men are required to do, if you really think about it, is just be there. It's not like as if they are actually giving like a special tax, because when they say, oh, a man is a protector, protecting you from what exactly? Most of the times, at least I have experienced a time where when then I was still in Abuja, like there was this couple that lived across from the house I was staying in, that lived across of us in the same, it was like a flat thing, and they lived across in the flat opposite our flat. And during the night, like this was like to 12, we had a gunshot, right? And then another one, and then another one, and everybody was panicking. What's going on? Oh, gunshots. And I was praying, God Almighty, please, oh, that kind of thing. And then the people I was living with then, the man got up and said, oh, he's going to go out and go and, check what's going on. And his wife was like, oh, don't go out. And he was like, no, he can't just stay in there and let them come and meet his family. So if he's going to go and meet his death, let him go and meet it outside. So he went out. And across from us, there's this couple, this Yoruba couple, and this man literally hid inside the house, stood at the window, and was shouting, barrister. Not even shouting, he was whispering, barrister. You're calling your fellow man that went outside to go and defend his family to come and tell you what is happening. Now, meanwhile, all this while when we were sitting in, we didn't even know that the gunshot was from another man who happened to be a member of SARS. That lives in the compound. He was the one that was shooting his gun because apparently some Hausa boys, they gather themselves and they enter into the streets, and what they usually do when they gather themselves like that is they start to rob people. So he was trying to let them know that if you come in here, you will die. You get. So he was the one that was letting off the gunshots and everything. And this man did not come outside until the next morning. So if you really think about it, and at that point, I also heard that there were other like instances where they had come to rob, and this man hid inside the house, and the wife had to come out with her kids to come and face the armed robbers. So at the end of the day, if we really want to think about it, that man, what is he protecting? He is the one being protected. He's a princess. So at the end of the day, we think about it like they say, oh, a man is a provider and a protector. But the truth is, most men of these days, all they know how to do is provide money. They can't even protect your peace from their own family, from people around them. They can't protect your peace from people from external forces. They can't even do that. They can't even raise you up in prayer. They expect you to be the prayer warrior, be the everything, and all they just want to do is just bear the name of Mister.
Okay.
So,
David, you had this expression on your faces. Please.
Anyways, in my own opinion, when we talk of marriage as whether marriage is a patriarchal institution or not, well, I believe there are two sides to everything, and if we want to look at it, we can argue that marriage is a patriarchal institution, just like the arguments that Ella has lined up. And we can also argue that marriage is not fully a patriarchal institution, because in the real sense of the word, you first have to understand, okay, what is marriage? And then we have to look at what is patriarchy. Because when we consider these two concepts, well, they are not mutually exclusive, in the sense that when we talk of marriage now is more like, a supposed to be like a commitment between two people who come together and try to work things out, try to build a family and all of that and all of that. Now, when we talk of patriarchy refers to a system or a structure that is built or designed to primarily favor the male gender. When we talk of patriarchy, that okay, this whole stuff is meant to primarily favor the male gender. Now, if we are going to contextualize it, that is in the sense of we're going to bring it to the Nigerian culture or in an African culture, yes, we can argue that marriage is built on patriarchy. But at the same time, we cannot oversimplify the whole issue to the case that, and is it like what Ella is saying, that, the duty of a man is to be just there. For me, I feel that is more of an oversimplification of the whole issue, because men are not necessarily just to be there when we talk of in marriage. Because apart from, because she was trying to make mention, she made many examples, and then she talked of in the olden days. And still the women will still help to sell the produce and all of that and all of that. But it just, for me, I just have this whole idea that every person in the marriage have different duties and functions to perform. But that does not also mean that maybe one person now feels like, okay, this is my own job and that is your own job, so I cannot help you to do your own job. But if we look at it strictly speaking, when we talk of the husband and the wife, there are different functions that are just instinctively, that okay, like we say when you talk of, let's say, the woman is mostly at home, she cooks, she does that, and the man is just there. Well, personally, I don't think the man is just there, because the man provides. In a sense, in an ideal marriage, the man serves as a provider, works, he provides for the family, and except maybe in the situation of maybe a man who is not a man,
is the woman not also providing?
Who cannot maybe provide for him, cannot provide for the family, in the sense of we have cases of men who are drunkards, men who are who are just lazy.
Even so in an ideal setting, is the woman not also providing?
The woman also provides. Like I said, both even in an ideal marriage, both are supposed to be providers. But then the degrees are different because for me, I all this whole idea of I do not believe that even because we cannot continue to make, like she was trying to make appeal to old times. I feel that we marriage the dynamics of marriage has changed over time. In my own opinion, I feel it has changed. If you look at modern marriage, it's not the same as marriage back in the days. There's a
Mm.
lot of, I feel like currently now there are a lot of changes because society has evolved. Society has evolved. Because the real reason why you can argue then that marriage is patriarchal is because the society in itself was
Mm.
patriarchal.
Mm.
Society in itself was patriarchal, ranging from not just marriage, because with patriarchy it does not just revolve around marriage. I believe it revolves around the entire framework of the society, from education to work to marriage to social interactions.
Mm.
So, it wasn't just about marriage. So it was based on how the society was structured that
Mm.
marriage then was structured on. Because then you have in the society then mostly let's say there were times when universities don't admit women. There are
Yes.
times when at certain workplaces women are not allowed. There are times when for some certain professions women do not do that. And that was because of the idea they had
Mm.
back then. They felt that the women were weaker and all of that, so they should work in the house. So
Mm.
that was the old idea there, and they felt that the men were stronger. And so since the men were stronger, they should be the ones outside or doing all the whole laborious work and all of that and all of that. While the woman should just be at home. And but as for me, I'll call it an age of enlightenment. As enlightenment began to increase, and philosophers or critical thinkers.
Do you think it was enlightenment, or it was the fact that a woman somewhere decided that why can't I have the same right
As a man.
to education, to a bank account, to
A life, basically.
What,
politics?
yeah, like now that's what I
do
talk
you
about.
do you think that it was enlightenment, or
First of all,
somebody somewhere, a woman somewhere deciding
like
that she wanted the same privileges?
first of all, it began from age of enlightenment because when this whole idea of there's this there's this there was this classical movement then in the early 18th century thereabout, which was like individualism and
Mm.
liber, libertarianism and what was the name of that movement. So that one now began to push for individual rights. Like individuals people should be free to do what they want. Like as an individual, I should be able to make my own choices, or like the
Mm.
society shouldn't, or the group shouldn't decide what I should do.
Individual.
So
Mm.
it started from that whole concept of
Mm.
man is the measure of all things. So as an individual, I should decide what I want to do and all of that.
Mm.
And so from there, it began to spread. And then, but what you said is also true. This whole idea of women fighting for, what, like, okay, I should also have the right to vote. You
Mm.
also have the right to work elsewhere. You also have the right to just have equal opportunities as a man.
Mm.
But it obviously begin with someone. It
Mm.
began with there's this feminist philosopher. I think what was that her name? I can't really remember her name, but she started the movement of I think if men can be allowed to vote or this, I should also be allowed to vote. So she started that whole concept of women should also be allowed. And
Mm.
that was how it all started, and that attacked the basic this thing of patriarchy,
Mm.
the whole basic framework of patriarchy. And so as society began to evolve, then it now gave women more and more freedom, and then down to our current age. So that's why I will not subscribe to the fact that marriage in our current time is patriarchal. That's why I will not subscribe to the fact that marriage in our current situation is entirely patriarchal. You
Mm.
can argue that you can argue that in some cases, yes, there are examples of marriages that are patriarchal. But I believe that society as a whole does not subscribe to that patriarchal idea any longer, because
Okay.
because we have it has gotten to the stage where women
Mm.
also have uh rights
Mm.
as the men do.
Mm.
But then you can argue from an individual perspective that, okay, I know of one, I know of two, I know of three
Mm.
men or three marriages that are patriarchal.
Mm.
But to argue that the entire marriage system is patriarchal, I do not subscribe to that idea. But you can argue that, yeah, I know of this family, I know of this, I know of that. But those individual persons that maybe you've been able to identify that these people
Mm.
are running a patriarchal marriage does not um does not at the end of the day mean that the entire marriage system in current Nigeria or the current society is patriarchal. It just shows that some persons are still, subscribing to that whole patriarchal idea of
Mm.
marriage. But if you want to look at it in terms of contemporary society, the
Mm.
society has evolved beyond the whole idea of patriarchy, because they are still there. Women are also allowed in. Okay, yeah, because if you look at the way marriages were structured in the olden days, only men had the right to divorce. As a woman back then, you could not apply for divorce. Most of the men had almost all the say in marriages. But
Mm.
now, a society has evolved beyond that. We have court weddings where both the husband and wife share equal rights. It's not only the unlike now that where in many civil marriages or so, women also have the right to file for a divorce if you know the
Mm.
the marriage isn't working for
Mm.
them. So look, and not just even just in the case of divorce, but other many instances that has to do with contemporary marriage.
Mm.
You cannot really look at it and still argue that marriage is fully patriarchal. But
Mm.
like I said at the beginning, it's a debate or something that doesn't really, you cannot argue that marriage is not fully patriarchal, and you cannot say argue that marriage you cannot say that marriage is not patriarchal. It just depends on who has the stronger argument.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
that's my own opinion. Whoever has the stronger argument. But it's not really something that we can say. I think this is because there are cases that support both opinions, that marriage is patriarchal and that marriage is not patriarchal. It just depends on who can argue the more, I guess.
Okay. So, what is the most valuable piece of independence you feel you would have to protect if you ever chose to enter into a legal marriage?
Valuable what?
Piece of independence.
What? If you're entering into a legal marriage, I think a valuable piece of independence that I think I should have is right to my own space. Or
You see this, yeah, I agree that one should have space. Like, despite the fact that you are now together, you should still be able to have like your own
a piece
space
of
to
independence.
have your own peace of mind, basically. So yeah, I agree on that. But while agreeing on that, I would still say that you don't see that in a lot of marriages. I don't know how familiar you are with the marriages we see, but I'm a very observant person.
Mm,
So a lot of the marriages that are being seen these days are not in any way palatable. Like, you see them and you don't want them. You see them and you don't want them, and
mm,
then you come to the realization that, okay, for instance, a lot of these celebrities that they take on podcasts and everything, and they want to talk about their marriages. One of the constant things you hear them say is, "Oh, the lady I'm married to is not my spec," or the person I'm with is not who I thought I would be
mm,
with, or we've had a case of a pastor coming out to say that his wife wasn't they were not sexually compatible or something like that,
But he still married her.
but he still married her. Like
Mm.
all these statements that belittle your partner and make your partner feel less important.
Yeah.
You understand? They make the person with you feel like, oh, you, and as an outsider looking in, you begin to feel like, why on earth did you then marry this
Marry this
person?
person.
This person, you understand?
Yeah.
If you get
Absolutely.
so when you look at all those statements and everything, you begin to realize that the essence of marriage is literally the not the essence, the picture of marriage has been skewed,
Yeah.
and it is, I feel like it is basically like about is basically like about it has to do a lot with the patriarchy in the society, and that is why the picture of marriage is literally squared. Because let us be very
What sense do
sincere,
you mean?
there's no equality. I rather than using the word equality, I will use the word equity. There's no equity in Nigerian marriages. And before you say, oh, let's talk statistics, the truth of the matter is this: is that as a person, except you're not an observant person,
Mm-hmm.
except you're somebody that doesn't care about what goes on around you, you would have observed, especially in marriages around you, even as a single person, you would have seen a lot of marriages where you are like, God forbid, because the balance of power is not equal.
Yeah.
Do you admit?
Yeah, in some cases.
Yes. No, it's not.
Don't say in some cases.
No, because
In when you have a statistic
Pit
over
all your experiences, all your observations, against what you know. When you pit all your observations on both sides against what you know, you will come to the conclusion that I am absolutely right in saying that there are more marriages you do not wish for than there are marriages you wish for.
true.
yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
don't say in some cases.
The reason why I use the word some is because when we say many, if we talk of many, it means that it has to mean that you observe and see a lot. And but when you say some, it still gives you this opportunity to be like, you could still be correct. But so it's you can say, well, some of the marriages that you've observed and seen, there's that equality of power. That one you do not really have to prove it. But if I say that many of the marriages that I've seen do not have that there is inequality of power there. We have to prove that to be sure. And that's why I didn't want to go into the whole discourse of statistics. But you are right in saying that some marriages, especially some Nigerian marriages,
Most Nigerian
do not. You can say that some Nigerian marriages have
there's no
that
some
power inequality. But
imbalance.
I feel that essentially, the whole issue comes down from the fact that probably these two individuals or these two couples who married possibly did not really get to know each other before getting married, because
You are saying she did not know that the person she married was a coward.
sometimes it's possible, because sometimes, like I said, when we talk of before you can, because well, you say that sometimes I believe that many of these marriages, sometimes someone would only let you know what they want you to know, because in the sense that I can make you think that, oh, I am a strong man or this. And unless you actually take your time to really know who I am, you may not know that. I may actually think, oh, this guy is good. Like example, I saw where there was this couple who said they met each other in January, and then somewhere in March or thereabout, they decided to tie the knot. They feel like they're the perfect match for each other. And then within how many, or within that, I think the next year that they got married, they broke up. It was one of we were having a class, and one of the lecturer was telling us, and he was a priest, so he was telling us that when the couple came to meet him and they're like, oh yeah, we want to get married, he was telling them that they should hold on and at least get to know each other. Understand that they should get to know themselves really and figure out if they were compatible. But they were like, oh yeah, it's the perfect one for me, it's the perfect one for me. And then yeah, they did not follow them to drag now. They appreciated the wedding. And then in how many months time the woman came back and was like, oh, the man lied about his wealth status. So he had presented himself as, a single guide. So probably that was what moved the girl to accept for that quick marriage. And then when they now got married, she now found out that okay, what he presented to her as who he was not actually the case. And so she was now, clamoring for a divorce that she was deceived. So that's why I feel like some of these things that happen is because sometimes the people themselves, because if we want to use let's say the contemporary dating pool or the way relationships come about in our contemporary times, people focus sometimes on the wrong things during their dating period. They focus on the wrong questions and they focus on wrong discussions. So I feel there are certain discussions that are necessary when you are thinking of spending the rest of your life with a particular person. You need to know what is the person's idea. Like if a lady wants to marry a man, you need to know what is his idea on certain things. So that you at least you get a clue from what the person will tell you, you get a clue on what you would likely experience in marriage. Just like I heard there was one time on Twitter when they were arguing this whole um the normal kind of birth, giving birth versus
Vaginal birth and
vaginal
cesarean
birth
section.
and cesarean section birth, where you see some men were commenting that oh, if I ever get married, my wife is not going
But
to.
David, which brings me to one very important question. As a man,
Mm.
should you be having any say
What kind of birth?
in what kind of in what no, not in what kinds of birth, in what kind in should you be having any say in any decisions that involve a woman's autonomy or her body? Seeing as how you are not the owner of the body,
Owner of said body.
Okay,
should you be having opinions?
that's a very controversial question. It's a very controversial question.
How is it controversial?
Yeah,
You don't see me making decisions on your body or telling you what to do with your body. So why should you make decisions on mine?
well, like if let's say if this is a conversation between a married couple, people who are married, I feel each person needs to have a say on what goes on with the partner's body. But if it's in the case of maybe you are my girlfriend or I'm a female friend, we don't have
So
any.
you are saying you would have an opinion on whether she goes through a vaginal birth or a CS?
Personally, if I'm married and my wife is about to give birth, and they say, oh, she cannot give birth through the vaginal way, and she has to give birth through cesarean section. She has to give birth through cesarean section. Both modes of giving birth are valid because I do not for me I feel it's crazy that a man should say, oh, my wife must not go through cesarean section. She has to go through the vaginal birth. There are cases where many women have lost their lives. And I feel like, for me, I feel that's the problem. First of all, the woman, because I feel maybe the reason why sometimes, because, well, I do not really have so much idea into that whole, how the consenting works in the medical field. But I feel maybe the reason why they ask the man, maybe the woman is unconscious or something, because maybe the man was one who filled the form as okay, this is my wife, and so they come to ask that. But I feel if the doctor, after considering every option, has said she cannot give birth to vaginal birth, whether or not the man agrees, they should use the cesarean section. Is it not better my wife survives than I say, oh, I want her to give birth like the Hebrew women? Because there was a man who made that comment like, oh, his wife must give birth like an Hebrew woman.
Okay,
And
so
I was
hold
like,
on. Let me cut you short a little
and I
bit.
look at the whole
For me, I
stuff and
feel
I'm
like
like,
yeah, whether or not it could be that some women are just afraid of pain and they do not want to have to go through the pain of labor, and they feel like, oh, when it comes to time, I just want to have cesarean section. If whatever makes it easier for her to bear is what should be done, because cesarean section will hand you a baby, vaginal birth will hand you a baby. Both ways you are going home with a baby, so it should not really be a thing
We are both saying the same thing now.
where a man feels like, oh, okay, because I watched a video one time on TikTok where this man was like, his wife was in labor. She had been laboring for 4 days. And the nurses were even tired because they were like, let this woman have a C-section and deliver this baby. And he was like, no, nobody in his family has ever had to undergo an operation. He will never agree to it. And he was standing there, right there, that nobody will do the operation on his wife. And he not even have to go move towards the wife because she was in so much pain. And like, is there a way you can just get up and just sign your name on this thing so that we can wheel you in and get this thing done? And he was like, she will not sign it, he will not sign it, and she must deliver.
Like I said, like I was saying at the beginning, that's
Which
why,
brings me to the most important thing is that if, as a woman, you should have a mind of your own.
exactly.
If a man is not going to take your health and your life into consideration, you should take your own health and life into consideration.
That's right.
Which brings us to the scenario of this is one of the things I love to use as a very huge scenario where I say, if there was a zombie apocalypse now, would you stand for somebody shouting or screaming without any good reason, knowing that the noise could attract zombies to you? Would you stand for it, or would you try to look for a way to get rid of the person?
To get rid of the person.
Exactly. So if you were, that would be my take on it. But then somebody else will come and say, oh, it is not quite moral to say that you want to get rid of somebody because you don't want to get caught or you don't want to die. But the issue the biggest question here is, how willing are you to die for somebody that is stupid? How willing are you to die for somebody that does not care about your own safety?
Yeah.
Which is why I firmly believe that women should care more for their own safety and their own health than being married to a man.
Well, that
no, because if I marry somebody that is going to insist, knowing fully well that the doctor has said it is not possible to go through this method, the person should not insist that is the method that they want. It means the person doesn't care about me or my life.
Yeah.
Doesn't
care about my safety.
But that's why I said sometimes before marriage, there are important questions that should be discussed, and that is one of it. Because if I was a lady, I need to know what if I get pregnant. What's your take on that? And you say, oh, you get pregnant. You're going to. I won't even bother to ask you whether what to say. I already know that, okay, if I do mistake and marry this man, I'm going to die. So yeah, I won't even bother to continue the relationship because that's a valid ground to end the relationship. Because you're not going to stand here, watch your wife or watch me go. If I was a woman, watch me go through pain, and I'm telling you, oh, I need to have that. I feel like the first person who should be asked, oh, what should we do to you, or what should happen if you cannot give birth the natural way, should be the woman. That's why I said maybe except if in the case where they feel, because I feel like when it comes to this whole consent thing, probably there are conditions as to when you can ask the person in pain for consent, because in my own understanding of consent, it has to do with, like, where you are fully conscious of what you're about to do. So maybe that's why the next person they ask for consent is the husband. But I think in some cases, before the woman even begins the whole labor thing, there should be that question should be asked. Let her be the one to decide if she wants through the vaginal birth or the cesarean section. Because in that situation, the man is not experiencing any form of pain. And so he shouldn't be the one to to decide that. I feel like in some cases the hospital can even make that choice on behalf of the woman to give to help the woman through the cesarean section, because if it is certain that she's not going to make it if she uses the vaginal birth, why should the husband still insist that okay, it has to be the vaginal birth? It therefore means that the man in himself doesn't love the woman, because you cannot say, oh, my mom gave birth to me through vaginal birth, so my son or my daughter must. It doesn't make sense. Though your mom or your wife are not the same persons, they are
Mm.
equally they are two different persons with two different body type and two different conditions.
Mm.
So that's why me I firmly believe that there have to be serious conversations that you must have with your future partner when it concerns all these things. Not just even about childbirth, but basically almost everything. What are your takes on certain issues? So that you know if you are going to marry a good man or you want to marry a monster. Because some person now say, oh, I didn't see, there were no signs. For me, I believe there will always be signs, except you refuse to see the sign. There will always be sign that this kind of person is going to kill you if you marry him. But they say, oh, I love him, and then you end up killing yourself. So I feel those are important discussions that must be had during the period of courtship. But I feel like nowadays many people fail to have these conversations. It's always planning about maybe the wedding, what kind of how much are we going to spend for the wedding. I feel those are not really important. They're not that they are not important conversations, but there are certain conversations that should be given more priority. Those that has to do with childbirth, that has to do with the family, in the sense of you need to know whether it's someone that while you are still pregnant. There was a time when we were having this discussion somewhere, and the woman was like, oh, that why she was the day she gave birth to her third son, that same day that she came back from the hospital, she still had to pound yam for the husband. And I sat down there, they were like elderly people having their
You've
conversations.
not
And
heard of the one that the woman will deliver, and in a couple of days, the man is already demanding that she should have sexual relations with him.
and for me, those are issues.
Or some
And
husbands, mothers that will come
and
and will insist that the woman must be the one cooking for everybody.
and that's why I said that this whole thing has, for me, I don't believe this whole idea or all of that has anything to do with patriarchy.
It does.
Do you know? Honestly, I do not think it has anything to do with patriarchy.
It does.
I believe it is more about the individual person. It's just about the individual, not really about the patriarchal structure or something. It's just the individual's mentality. Because even if you want to argue about patriarchy, there are still men within that patriarchal structure who do not think that way. So we cannot actually say that, oh, patriarchy is a problem. I feel it's just some men who are just being irrational. It's just some men who are being irrational, because why would your wife just give birth? Or just like, yeah, I was reading, there was this handler on Twitter who posts some random, where like when men they say something random, like a man was complaining that, oh, he's no longer attracted to his wife after she gave birth or something like that. And I saw the thing, I was like, really? You are supposed to know that when your wife gives birth, she obviously undergo some certain body changes. And so why will you, that should not be a ground for you to want to cheat on your wife. So like I said, all those things have nothing to do with patriarchy. It's an individual problem, not really a patriarchal problem. It has to do with the individual person that is the problem,
Yeah.
not really patriarchy as an institution. That's just like my own take on it.
All right. I think we're getting time has really run out.
Don't use it for now. Really?
Yeah.
Well, you don't talk for 40 minutes with you.
So what we'll do is we'll have another episode to complete this conversation. So for this first episode, it was really nice having David and Ella with us, and Olivia. Olivia is our one year old toddler that has been making noise since morning and has refused to keep quiet. Anyway, so we'll continue this conversation next week, I believe. It
All right.
was wonderful to have you guys. Please leave your comments and opinions in not the comment section. Send it to my email. Actually, there's an email attached, so you could just drop your comments and your opinions there, and we'll read it for the next episode. Take care.